time for our panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be discussing about platform and developer productivity in trends and challenges, about their trends and challenges. To discuss this, I would like to call upon Mr. Neependra, Mr. Ravi, Ms. Anusha, Mr. Rajdeep, and Ms. Nida. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all the panel dignitaries.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this particular panel discussions where we discuss about developer productivity and platform engineering a bit. So my name is Neependra, and we have our panelists here. We'll do a quick round of intro first, and then we'll start with our discussion here. So my name is Neependra, and I'm founder of Cloud Yuga. We train people on containers and Kubernetes, and I have trained hundreds of engineers in companies like Flipkart, Intuit, and many more. So that's kind of a brief intro. Rajdeep.
Yeah, hi. I'm Rajdeep Bhattacharya. I basically leading the DevOps initiatives at Lenskart.
Yeah, hi, I'm Anusha. I'm a technical product manager at Nirmata. So Nirmata is the company behind the open source policy engine Kubernetes. I'm about in the space for Kubernetes security for a year, and prior to this, I was working at VMware. So there, I've been involved in cluster API and other cloud platform solutions.
Hey, hi, I'm Nida. I'm the founder of a company called Knife. At Knife, we help reduce complexity of multiple infrastructures, and we help customers deploy, manage, and scale their applications. I have about 10 years experience in corporate, and then the last 5 years I've been in startup space. And I think that's the brief introduction about me.
Sure, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Ravi Hari. I'm working at Intuit, and in Intuit I'm working in a team that builds Kubernetes as a developer platform. Ravi? Where all the... sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll quickly wrap it up. So I'm Ravi Hari. I work in Intuit in a Kubernetes development platform where all the applications of Intuit run on. Thank you.
Okay, so talk about now what's your cloud data journey for you or your company? How has it been so far? So maybe Anusha can start.
Yeah, my cloud native journey. So I actually started a bit late. It was just about 2.5 years ago, and it was by chance because I was at VMware and I joined the VMware Tanzu team, and Tanzu was new back then for VMware. And that's how I got into cluster API and providers and the entire, shenanigans around Kubernetes. But very quickly, I discovered there's a lot more than just cluster management, because that's just, the beginning. There's, security, there's observability, and, there's a lot of things. And it's very difficult to wrap your head around all of it when you just start afresh. After about a couple of years, I decided now I have to head into some other space, I wanted to do either networking or security. That's where I met founders at Nirmata. We spoke about Kubernetes, and Kubernetes seemed to be a very cool project. I think it was donated to CNCF in 2018, and it's still an incubating project. So I thought it was an interesting space to get into, and that's why I'm here now. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah.
I joined Intuit 5 years back. Until previously, I was working on a in-house data center, kind of setup. When I joined Intuit, they acquired a startup that time called Appletics, and then Intuit was in a journey to rewrite all the monoliths into microservices. And at that time, we also started the journey on Kubernetes. We were exploring how do we move into cloud native platforms, and Kubernetes was considered then, and at that time I joined the team, and that's how my cloud native journey started.
Nida?
I actually don't know the exact moment really.
Okay.
So where do I come from? I come from a deep infrastructure background. So worked in data center applications, was writing backend APIs for cloud. And then, the transition happened where we moved away from working at low-end layer of the infrastructure itself into, more service-oriented applications. I think somewhere probably in 2015, 2016, my first introduction was when I was reviewing some technical papers at Anita Borg. And I think that's when I got introduced, and simultaneously we were doing some work in that time in the company that I was working on, LUNC. So we're working on some things related to microservices, but not exactly there, not knowing like every enterprise, not knowing why we're doing what we're doing. I think that's where it started, but then the journey was mostly towards moving towards cloud from hardware, and also the journey was moving towards applications for cloud versus what we were doing for hardware. I think that was like a personal journey and personal career move that I had to make.
Sure, Rasdeep.
Yeah, so I think I share the same story. So I am like from the systems background. My journey basically started. I have been working on bare metals. Then I moved to LXC. Then slowly Docker was coming into the picture. Slowly started adopting, learning more. I would say about new technologies. That's where I started, and I think I would say that the point was when the problem statement started to occur, in my career and the company where they were not scaling any further, right? I think that's when, in true sense, the cloud native things started to happen. Lenskart was at a point where they were cloud based, not cloud native. So that's when this COVID thing turned up, and slowly all our stores were shut, and we were basically changing our strategy very quickly and moving to our online stores more. And this is when we never had seen such kind of online traffic on our site. And slowly we started seeing all the bottlenecks in our architecture, right? All the tech debts which were kind of hidden behind the carpet, they were all coming up, and we had to refactor a lot of things. And I would say that in 2018 we had a very big failure with cloud native adoption, right?
Okay.
And that was a very big learning, and I share this in many conferences and failure stories. And might help other companies as well. So we started with a kind of search cluster, right? So that's when we took a step back. I think our team was not ready at that point of time, and we were kind of I would say more excited about the technology rather than knowing the full basics about it, right?
Got it.
And that was, I think, biggest failure to learn from. And post that, I think when we started adopting cloud native, we were very cautious about the business side of things as well. And we started taking very small steps, taking small services to clusters, and that's how we graduated, and we are still doing that.
Okay. Yeah. So how many developers are here in the session? Okay. Now let me ask you a question from the panelist. What do you think? Do developers love ops? I don't know. Put him in a spot.
Okay, so I would say it's a 50-50.
Okay.
I think it's about educating. I think what I have learned while adopting DevOps at Lenskart, that I think it's a lack of education where they don't feel comfortable about ops, and the same goes for ops. Right,
yeah, ops doesn't try to.
Yeah, they don't consider like this is like a boundary, like like China, India, right? And that's where they don't talk. So I think it's when you start understanding the problem statements, and you also start educating them and also give them controls, right? It's then when actually this whole DevOps thing starts to happen, right? And I think that's more liberating, and that's when they and that's how things accelerate, because they now assume a lot of things before asking questions to the ops team, and the same goes for the kind of ops people, right?
Anybody has any opinion on this?
I feel there are two personas to it. One is an application developer persona, and then there is a platform engineer persona.
Okay.
So it depends on which developers we are talking about.
Okay.
So the developers that belong to platform engineering would love to do ops. And automate it and keep it under the wraps, right? So they would like to do that and make the platform so smooth that application developer persona don't even have to know there is a platform running behind.
That's a very good point.
That is how I would see.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, I think we have, I've seen like several customers ask, like there's a security team and there's an ops team and there's a dev team. How do I set up workflows and processes so that, I don't have to interact with the developer or
Right.
they don't have to interact with us. So it has to be that much seamless and self-service so that, think about it, right? Like if you say want to request some infrastructure, would you rather raise a ticket, wait for a week and get that provisioned, or, go and raise a GitHub PR and get it provisioned for you?
Yeah.
So I think that is where we have been hearing platform engineering a lot, right? And
Right.
and like you rightly mentioned, there's platform developer, they love ops.
Correct.
We all love Kubernetes. But if you ask the same to an application
Absolutely,
developer, they're
same.
like, I'm going to write Java
Code,
application or
yes.
some application
Right.
and please make it run somehow. Don't tell me
Yeah.
that it's consuming so much memory or, yeah.
Where it is, yes.
Surprisingly, I've worked in both the types of companies, right? One company where you raise a ticket, even if you want like, few GBs of data extra or storage extra or whatever. And then there are other companies that I've worked in where you don't have to do anything. You just, own up everything. You own up what resources you need, and then you continue doing work, R&D and stuff like that. I've learned more as an engineer when I've been in the second type of the company where I own up everything. So the thing is that the silos that we create is our silos, right? It's what we create ourselves. That so and so is an ops team, so and so is a dev team can't do ops team can't do dev work, so on and so forth. I think there are a lot of companies today. I think if I'm not wrong, Atlassian, right, Jira. When I was speaking to their managers, they tell me that, oh no, we do everything. The application developers have to do ops work as well. So I was actually taken aback because a lot of other companies have demarcations. So I would prefer as a developer wanting to do ops as well, because then I have more control over things.
Then you kind of missed all the deadlines and everything if you have to stick with the ops.
Not exactly. I have
No?
to prepare everything put together. But like I think what he said, right?
Right.
When you have automations
Correct.
in place, then things become a lot more easier than setting up automations right from scratch.
Okay, yeah, good. So in your journey, in your companies, in your cloud native, what kind of challenges do you face? Like, do you see a pushback? It can be about technical or non-technical. Can you talk about that? What kind of challenges you have faced while operating cloud native in your company? Like just to pursue your teams or you pursue your managers? How is it? Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge was the technical debts
Okay.
and bandwidth allocation.
Okay.
I think many of them must be facing here. So apart from that, I think when we were into that journey, our DevOps team had to basically go beyond, above and beyond their role, right? They also went inside the Spring Boot code. They,
Okay.
took measures to help the team because, then we were all on the same boat. Right, and I would say that management alignment is also very important, kind of the direction they want to take, and that is where I think some right decisions were taken at the right time, and slowly, we were not working as silos team because, we were working on some business metrics. Right, be it product, be it development team or engineering as a whole, right? We were taking collective decisions, and nobody was kind of restrictive to the inputs they want to get. So I think mostly it was around planning and I think taking the right steps and technical debt. I would say that was a big kind of inflection point for us when we went ahead and started adopting containerization. We very quickly realized that no, this just moving things, just moving dirt from VM to Kubernetes is not going to help it.
Okay.
And then that's when we started to refactor, a lot of things, breaking down the architecture, cleaning a lot of shitty code. And I think that's when actually things started to improve.
Okay. And did you see any pushback from the employees or somebody said that no, this is too much for me, kind of a thing? Have you seen like that?
See, when we were adopting cloud native, we were at a point when, as I mentioned, we were actually, our online traffic was increasing.
Okay.
Yes, there were burnouts, definitely. We were also refactoring our architecture and the code base at the same time we were adopting, right? But that was the challenge that we took, that we'll do it once and for all.
Yeah.
We are not going to stop it here. We are continuously going to refactor unless and until we reach to some certain kind of SLOs that we had set for us.
Ravi, what's your opinion? How was it
So
for
for us, the first challenge is once we have decided that we will start leveraging Kubernetes or cloud native technology, there is a steep learning curve for
Yes.
developers, because we are writing all the platform stuff and we are creating the clusters and all. However, the deployment YAML files, the service YAML, deployment YAML, or the ingress YAML, everything
Correct.
developers have to manage it. And that required some steep learning curve. And we expect that someone joining at org has to get started with his work in a day or two or whatever, right? But with this mandate in place, like everything that we're going to develop should be on Kubernetes, they have to go through that kind of a training, like how we use Kubernetes in our company, and he has to learn Kubernetes and he has to understand all these things. So that was a challenge, and which is why now what we are doing is we want to avoid that.
Okay.
And let the developer completely focus on his application repository, and we manage everything behind for them, and they shouldn't be aware which cluster their service is running on. So that's how we need to go for.
As far as I know, that you guys have built something internally as a platform for others. So that.
So yeah, so the initial Kubernetes developer platform that I was talking about, we called it that time Modern SaaS platform, where we saw that there were multiple silos where there is a lot of duplicate effort going on, either in building observability tools, for example, tracing, or for example, logging and other things, or even generating metrics and stuff like that. So there were multiple parallel work the different teams were doing, and what step we took was, at that time when we declared this modern development platform that we are going to build, all the plumbing that all these individual teams are doing will be done in a central place, so that they don't have to spend any time in doing this, and they could focus on the code and ship it. So that was a learning from the challenges that we faced, and which actually, after doing that, improved the overall developer productivity by 6x.
Oh wow, that's good number. Yes, Anusha, do you want to share something?
Yeah, so I've spoken to like a range of customers, right? Like a wide variety of them. So the new age startups who are born in the cloud native,
Right.
so they are very tech savvy, and all of their applications are constructed to be cloud native, Kubernetes native. So it's not a no hurdle for them. They can move faster. But then there are companies like about like say 10-15 years old, they have gone through the cloud transformation journey, like you mentioned. It could have taken like 1 or 2 years, but they have done the due diligence to become cloud native. But then there are certain companies with a mix of both, like maybe due to the management or some they want to become cloud native, and it's half and half. Like their applications are not designed to be cloud native. For example, like last month or so, I was interacting with a customer, and like I'm from Nirmata, so I sell like Kubernetes security. So one of the basic Kubernetes security principle is don't allow root access for your applications. And I was interacting with a security architect, and he told me that, but we have about 1,000 pods, and in that half of them require root access. Now, how do I turn off root access? My
Right.
developers will get mad. So now, do you go back and re-architect your application? That is the right way to do, but that is going to cost you more time. So that is the trade-off some companies will have to do. And then there are, banks which want to go through the cloud native transformation, but it's going to take them a long time. Like I go and pitch Kubernetes security to them, and they're like, we are using a .NET application. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
They're like, no, okay, take a step back. You have a lot of things to do before, you
Before
can
you
think
do
about
that.
other things.
Correct.
So I think it depends on like what size of the organization you're, and also like the larger your org is, obviously there's going to be bureaucracy. Like if you're from, big organizations, you know that. Like I'm working with another bank in which, just the top management changed, and that introduced like another 2 months delay for them, because everything has to realign. But whereas like there are some startups which move so quickly that we have to work extra to catch up with them. So yeah, I think it depends on the maturity of the organization as well.
Yeah, just to add to what Anusha said, I think also how tech savvy the teams are.
Yeah,
A lot of adoption happens because a technical architect wants something, right?
correct.
Interestingly, we've come across strange scenarios like what you were mentioning, right? Right from partial code being here, partial code being there, things not being, nothing being there actually. Like I recently came across a customer who said, we don't have a development environment, production environment. Like we manually go and, do things, and I'm like, are you sure you're a skilled company, Series A, are you sure? Right? So all those things. Funny story, because I think everyone else has covered all the points. When the enterprise that I was working for decided to move to cloud native, they acquired a project.
Okay.
Okay, and then there were a bunch of developers who wanted to pick up the skills.
Right.
So they all sat and they learned it. So processes were in place. So nobody had to transform a specific project. Instead, we decided to, build on top of it. So that's something that our organization did.
Okay, nice. Just one question on that line, like what would you make, like what are the things you are doing to make your developer more productive in the cloud native ecosystem? Maybe 1 or 2 liners. Just one thing if you're doing, like what made a change or in the developer productivity, that one change which made a massive impact in the productivity of them, like something which you have done, like for example putting that, yeah, Ravi.
So for us, as I said, having to make all these individual components that each developer is doing it in a central place has actually given developers a lot of freedom and ability to write more code.
Okay.
That is one game changer in our
Okay.
case.
Yeah, I think building your own platforms, like internal development platforms, is all the buzz these days. And I think it is for a reason, and it's called internal for a reason, because it is going to be unique to every organization. So you cannot expect a turnkey solution, like whatever fits for my org, like whatever the stack is to fit to her organization. So you have to have that internal platform team. And I think businesses have to realize that that is very important. You have to invest in that, because you're not going to get direct revenue from it, because you're not going to sell it to your customers. Your customers are going to be your internal developers themselves. So you have to cater to them. There should be a proper, I think, org around it.
Okay.
I have seen like few companies doing that. So I think that is the right way to, invest in your, setting your own house right, basically, so that developer productivity increases and in turn revenue. So that is the way to look about.
Sure. Just okay. You have to.
Yeah, so I think in our case also it was pretty same. I think right now in our current, what increased the velocity was one thing that we slowly into 2021, we moved to a model called a shared responsibility, right? Where we basically wanted to make the program more inclusive in Lenskart, where there are service teams who are basically owning their service end to end, and the DevOps team is basically more focused on the platform side of things, right? So again, like a central place, we're creating platforms for other teams where they could actually ship their code. We didn't move to a proper CI/CD platform, right? But actually we orchestrated our current flow of deployment, right? That is one more way where the teams adopted it fast, like a go no go in kind of a manual approval process, because we found that different teams could have different actually requirements. So we customized the pipeline according to their need, right? We didn't wanted to just have kind of single platform or single pipeline for every other team. What suits them or what is their style of operating, we moved to that model, right? Another thing was that we slowly started putting kind of policy engines at the Kubernetes side of things. So we wanted to be at the very end of the kind of before just kind of deploying stuff. You put guardrails in place so that things are automatically kind of taken care of. Okay. So that was a major, I think, impact, and also kind of other standardizations that we brought in. One was that from a manifest, just simple manifest driven model, we moved to Helm charts, okay, so that they are aware that what kind of environments or kind of different environments they can take control of. where they have kind of restrictive access to. So we were kind of putting very specific RBACs in place. So that also gave them kind of a visibility that they have the ground to run, but at the same time, at the end, we have a gate in place.
Okay.
Right. So this actually helped us to increase our velocity from 40 deployments per week to now we are sitting at 1,000 plus.
Wow.
So, and this is going to accelerate more. And I just wanted to give one more thing, right? Because, this was a kind of business need, right? It was not something kind of a very fancy thing for us. So Lenskart is coming up with a new warehouse facility, right? It's a proud moment for we Indians, right? It is the biggest highway facility in the world that is coming up, and it's going to basically service kind of 1 lakh orders per day.
Oh wow.
So with this, I think the velocities will keep on increasing, and we are going to be facing new challenges every.
Okay. Just one last question to all of you. Like, what kind of projects are looking in the CNCF ecosystem that is going to help this productivity of developers to go at a very next level? So, any specific project in the CNCF space you're looking to make that?
Okay, I can tell you the problem statements, right? So, I think projects can build on top of that. So, one thing is, I was discussing with, so right now our heavy reliance is on IAC. Right, we use Terraform. So, what could be kind of a policy engine for such things, right? That is one thing. Another thing is that kind of predictability, right?
Okay.
AI ops kind of things.
AI ops, okay.
Yeah, but open source. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ravi, anything from your side that what kind of?
Yeah. So a couple of things. One, it is not a CNCF project, I believe, but GitHub Copilot is something that we started adopting.
Oh wow.
And the right away when there is a unit test which developers used to take an hour to write is now coming down to 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Nice.
Because you have the file, code file open and the unit tests are generated most of it automatically, right?
Okay.
So
nice.
just giving you a heads up on what AI can do, right? The other projects that we are looking at are we have adopted. As I said, the problem has been that developers has to write these deployment files and stuff like that. So we looked at how can we hide all this plumbing from developers. There are a couple of projects that we found in open source. One is Kubevela from Microsoft and Alibaba, I guess, which follows open application model. So we have adopted it and customized it to our needs. Okay. But there could be more projects on those lines. And similarly, as he touched upon, AIOps is another thing. So when we use Argo rollouts for canary deployments and stuff like that, we are trying now to leverage AIOps so that anomaly detection and other things happen, and it doesn't take too much time for the developers to detect something is wrong.
Okay, nice.
So those kind of things is what we are looking at.
Yeah, I think more lightweight VMs coming into play, right? What I'm going to say is projects like K3S.
Okay.
That is something that helps out. The other thing that I wanted to add is for developer productivity per se, developer pods. That is something that I have seen a lot of customers adopting, and we use it in enterprises that I've worked before as well. So that actually has worked out really well for us. In that context, I was bringing in the topic of K3S. And probably that is something that can extend it. I also wanted to mention ChatGPT for code, right? Something around that line, because we do have modules. We actually use ChatGPT extensively in terms of getting some AIC related stuff. So that is something also would be very interesting. I haven't seen projects like that in CNCF though.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I think again around IAC is again a hot topic, and like companies that went through transformation like a few years ago, like Terraform is the go-to choice for those companies. But I think now there's tools like Crossplane which are like more Kubernetes native, and if you want to provision Kubernetes resources, that is the go-to way. So that is up and coming, which I like. And I'm going to take his problem statement back home so that I can make Kiver write Terraform policies as well.
Oh, that's good.
And I think in terms of security is again one big thing. So there's Kyverno for Kubernetes security. We have seen, Project 6 Store, which has Cosine and other things coming up, which is, guided by the principle of shift security left, and that is what everybody needs to do. Like shifting left security and zero trust is again one of the most important things that we need to take care of, and not, we should not wait for something to happen. Like we should not be reactive to problems and try to be more proactive. And I think again in terms of there's observability, but another area would be FinOps, or because cloud spend is on everybody's mind. So using all the fancy tools and technologies could be cool for developers, but what businesses care is how much they're paying for all of that end of the day, right? So all those EC2 instances are going to generate a hefty bill. So I think projects around kube cost or open cost that helps you monitor and allocate Kubernetes resources and monitoring around FinOps basically. So that I think would be interesting.
Thank you. I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you. You can catch with all of the panelists after the session. Thank you all of you to be here. Thank you very much.